Hello everyone and welcome to Call Sign Charlie Models. Time for another inbox review, and today's inbox review is of the Trumpeter English Electric Lightning F.1A or F.3 in 1/32 scale. So this is going to be an absolute beautiful kit when it's all done up in aluminum, and I'm really loving this spread scheme on the top of it. So going on with the top box art, again, lovely box art on the front, and then we go off to the side. We have one of the paint schemes from number 56 Squadron Royal Air Force, RAF, Wittersham, England, 1963. And then we have a nice little history about the English Electric Lightning right here. Then we flip it over to the other side, and then we have some nice pictures of the built model right here. And then we have the other scheme that we have from the number 111 Squadron, Royal Air Force, RAF, Wittersham, England, 1965, and that's a nice black scheme as well. So I'm going to get this box opened up, and then we're going to start taking a look at everything that's included inside. Alright, so we're starting off with the instruction booklet, and like always with Trumpeter, it's a nice black and white booklet right here, and this is kit item number 02280. Going along here, we have the typical read before assembly, and then we have the legend for our instructions of all the symbols that we will be seeing throughout here. Then opening up, we have a parts call out right in here. It looks like we have a film part for our dash, then a couple decal sheets, and then it looks like we have rubber tires as well. Alright, so starting off the kit, we have the cockpit, our ejection seat, and then moving on with the cockpit tub, getting in our sidewalls and all of that. Looks like there's going to be some fairly decent detail on that. And then we're getting our ejection seat located into our cockpit tub, and then adding in our back wall and our instrument panel, and then we're adding in the sidewalls to go onto the fuselage. And then we're having our instrument coming in over the instrument panel right there, and that should finish up the cockpit. Then after that, we are working on our intakes, getting our intakes all done, and our nose landing gear well as well. Getting that done, it does look like we will be able to add that nose landing gear after building is complete, so that is a nice touch. I really do like it when kits do it that way, so you can leave the landing gear off during painting and you don't have to worry about masking that off. Alright, and then after that, we're working with our exhaust. We have it's a different type of exhaust. It's a vertical twin exhaust on here, so it really sets this aircraft apart. And then we're starting off with what looks like our wings and our main landing gear, getting that all on. And then after that, we have our fuselage halves, our intakes, and our exhaust, getting that all closed up right in there. And then we're adding in our vertical stabilizer, our speed brakes, and then our canopy and our nose cone right there. And then lastly, we're adding our wings to it, and then our landing gear doors and some missiles that we have the options for right in there. So it looks like it's going to be a fairly quick and easy build on this one. It doesn't look like there's much to this kit at all. So moving right along to our color callouts, again we have some very nice color schemes to choose from, with the 111 Squadron with the black tail fin right here. Again, some very nice schemes right there. And then we go off to the other side with the red one from number 56 Squadron. Again, very nice. It's a red and black scheme on this one, and then you have the red going down the wings, and on this side you just had the straight aluminum wings on this. So we'll have to see. I'm kind of siding with the number 56 Squadron on here, so we'll have to see. Alright, going off with our decals, we have our roundels and a few other stencil detail on here. There is a semi-gloss matte to this, so it should go down fairly nice. You do have some nice walkway lines in here and some other detail. I can't tell if that's tread detail for your wheels. Kind of looks like tread detail for your wheels, and I have not seen that before, if that's the case for those for those decals. We'll have to see what those are for, but again, very nice decals on this one. And then moving on to our next decal sheet, which is our main decal sheet with the 2 options for the squadrons right here. Again, with the number 5, with the number 5-6 squadron, and then and the 111 squadron. Very, very nice decal options on this. These are rather huge decals on here, so you're definitely gonna have to deal with some bubbling and such to go on with those. But again, some very, very nice decals on that. So I'm gonna be definitely torn on which option I'm gonna be using when I do this, because there are 2 very nice options to go. So up next we have a box inside the box, and inside of this box we do have the film for our instrument panel right in here, and then we have our rubber tires, very thin tires, and then the tread is okay. There's no sidewall detail on here, but those do seem okay on that. Alright, so the main canopy parts, the main canopy did break off, and there is a scratch down here. I'm not sure if that is going to be able to get buffed out or not, but we'll have to see. A nice little texture between the clear part and the actual part that's going to get painted on there. So, and the clear, it looks clear. It is pretty clear. It's not the most perfect clear parts I've ever seen, but again, they're going to do really nice on the job, especially if you do a nice little polish to it. It shouldn't be really any issue. Then on this part, you do have your front canopy right here, and up close there's no distortion, but from a distance it does have some distortion. Then you do have a glass part for your instrument panel right in here. Alright, so up next we have our vertical stabilizers, and we get 2 of these sprues right here, it looks like. Yep, we have 2 of the same sprue, and the rivet detail on here is absolutely amazing on there. I'm hoping it shows up right there. As you can see, all the panel line and rivet detail on that for both parts of this vertical stabilizer is going to look absolutely amazing when you have it all weathered up on there. Get a nice panel wash from Flory Models on there and do your wash, and all those little rivets are going to show up. It's going to look outstanding when it's all done. Alright, so up next we have a few detail parts. These are your wheel hubs right here. Again, nice detail on the exterior of that and on your landing gear as well. No issues on that, and they are 1-piece landing gear struts, so you're not going to have to worry about sanding down a major seam line. You just have a little bit of a mold seam line right down the middle, and that comes off real easy, just taking your hobby knife and scraping it off on that side, and that takes care of that little seam line real quick. Then we flip it over to the other side. Alright, so let's see the intakes. Alright, we do have some rather large ejector pin marks right in here, but here's the deal. I'm not sure on how much of this you are going to be able to see, because the way that the intake is with the nose cone that goes in, I'm not sure if you're going to actually be able to see any of that intake at any detail at all. So I don't know if I'd even be worried about the ejector pin marks on there. Now for these parts on your, looks like this is going to be your landing gear well, maybe. You do have some ejector pin marks on there. Some rather deep ones that are right in between of some panel or some ribbing. So those might be a little bit difficult to take care of. And then on your speed brakes, again, you do have some ejector pin marks right back in here. So those are going to be pretty difficult unless you use Vallejo or Perfect Putty, a water-based putty. Those might be a little bit difficult to take care of unless you use a water-based putty, but other than that, they look all right. And then everything else looks pretty nice. And you do have this cone that popped off of the sprue right here. Again, very nice. No seam lines down it or anything like that. So, Alright, so moving on to our next sprue, we have our exhaust, and the cans of the exhaust, some nice rippling detail right in here, as you can see right there. And then your actual exhaust cans, again, very nice detail on those as well. So moving right along, you do have a few other parts that's not much detail to those parts, and then your landing gear wells, your walls to your landing gear, not much detail on that as either. But your cockpit floor, you're not going to be able to see much of it when the ejection seat is there, and then you have the two sidewalls right there. Not going to be able to see much of that anyways. Now the instrument pan or the control panels right here, there's some fairly decent detail on that. I would have to say for injection molding, that's not too bad. So everything else does look okay. This was an older aircraft, so there's not going to be a lot of switches and all that to go onto this into the plane. Now we flip it over to the other side. These are exhausts. I'm not sure on how much of this you're going to be able to see, because these parts right here are going to be taking up a lot of the detail. But again, you do have some ejector pin marks right in there, and then on the back side of everything else that you're not going to be able to see. So again, very nice. No ejector pin marks on the inside of your exhaust cans either, so that's a nice touch. And I'm not seeing really any other issues on this right now. Alright, so moving on, these are our flaps right here, and again, the same as a vertical stabilizers, the rivet detail on here, very nice going along there. And then we flip it over to the other side. Alright, this is the area that we're going to be worried about. So our landing gear wells, the main landing gear, again, very nice. There's no ejector pin marks. There's absolutely amazing rivet detail on the inside of that. I'm hoping that the camera will pick that up. There we go. So that's on both of them. No ejector pin marks on these gear doors right here. You do have a couple ejector pin marks on these gear doors, but your landing gear struts are going to be sitting in front of those, so you're not going to be able to see those at all. And then on these landing gear doors, again, no ejector pin marks on those. So just nice detail, some nice placement of the ejector pin marks where needed. Then we have our next one, and this is our elevators slash horizontal stabilizers. Again, same thing with the rivet detail on this, absolutely amazing. And then we have our gun ports right here, I think, and not much to them. There's no closing or opening to the back end of it, so definitely going to have to take care of that if you're going to super detail this kit. But again, everything else looks okay. And then we flip it over to the other side. Okay, I spoke too early. I'm not sure. These might be closed, so you might not see these. This is one of your landing gear doors. Again, no ejector pin marks on that part, but you do have ejector pin marks on all these parts. And this part is odd because it's a reverse, I think. Okay, these parts you're not going to be able to see because these are going to be on the fuselage, right? Now these part, on the other hand, might be landing gear doors, and you will be able to see those. So these you will be able to see most likely. Okay, up next we have a single sprue of our weapons right here. Some nice missiles in halves. Some decent panel line detail on them. For injection molding, they're not bad. Resin detail, of course, is going to be night and day better, but these will do. Definitely do the part needed. You do have some protective packing over these fins right here, so you're going to want to leave that on until time to remove that. Up next we have our wing sprues. This is our bottom wing, and again, the rivet detail on here, absolutely top notch on there. You can see all that detail, and when you get a wash on that, that is going to look absolutely amazing when it's all done. And then on the reverse side, not much to it. And then on our top half of of the wings, again, absolutely beautiful rivet and panel line detail going all through there on that. And with this being an all aluminum aircraft, these panel lines and rivets actually do make sense versus some of the other rivet detail that Trumpeter has done in the past, like on their F-35. But we'll get into that at a later date. Alright, so this was the sprue I was excited to see, and this is the main fuselage half, and this is actually quite a beefy fuselage right here. It's a lot larger than what I was expecting to see on here, but the actual rivet detail and the panel line detail is just like the rest of the kit, absolutely superb, going all the way around on this, and just going around, even around the bends. You don't lose any detail going around on the belly. We do have a little bit of flash going on the edge right here, but that shouldn't be too much to deal with on that. And then we flip it over to the other side. You're not going to be able to see any of this detail right here because you're going to have the cockpit tub that's going in here, so that's blocking off that. And then you're going to have the exhaust area that's blocking off this section with the ejector pin marks right here. Then everything else is just going to be closed up. So on the exterior side, absolutely amazing detail on here. You do have a little bit of flash on here, right in here, on where your vertical stabilizer is going to be, but that again is not much to take care of. That will take you a whole 5 seconds to take care of with a hobby knife. But again, very, very nice detail on here. Alright, so that does it for the Trumpeter 1/32 scale English Electric Lightning F.1A or F.3. And I can say that this kit actually doesn't look too bad on the exterior side of things. On the exterior, it looks absolutely amazing, especially if you do it with some AK Extreme metals with the aluminums and mix up your aluminums on there. That's going to look absolutely top notch when it's all said and done. And then some of the interior detail, okay, was a little bit lacking, but I mean, I think it's good enough to get done. This kit might be a nice straight out of the box build for me on this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this inbox review. I hope it answered any questions that you had. I hope it helped you make a decision if you're on the fence on buying this kit or not. And I hope you enjoyed. So if you haven't yet, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell button for notifications of when I post new content. And until next time, have a great day, stay frosty, and happy modeling.